Welcome into SportsSource.tv. Happy to have you with us for our overtime segment today. Joined by the full panel of VFLs from the Sports Source. We got Sterling Hinton, we got Will Overstreet, David Ligon, Daniel Hood down there. Four good guys. At least that's what I tell you on air. All right. This segment brought to you by Smokin' Joe's. Always, they do our overtime segment, SmokinJoesTobacco.com. If you are a cigar aficionado, and I enjoy a good cigar every now and then the place to go is Smokin' Joe's. They have a great selection, and they also have terrific prices. It's the best combination in the area. They got 2 locations, and they have some other stuff in the works that we'll be telling you about in the months to come. Smokin' Joe's. All right. I want to just throw out some names and get your guys' responses. All right, some things we didn't get to talk about in the show. Shy Tuttle last night. Defensive lineman, what do you think?
I thought he looked pretty good. I mean, probably a little slow in the first quarter like we've been doing all year. But, yeah. But I think you look at him in the back half of the game, started making some big plays.
Thoughts on Tuttle? The announcer crew, Herbstreit and Reese Davis seemed to be very impressed with him last night. They had a lot of cameras on Shy Tuttle.
Well, he came back from an injury, and he's playing. He's playing fast and playing hard and playing well. So I like that in itself. Shows a lot of character.
I think in the first part I was a little nervous because that first quarter double team, our D tackles, including Tuttle, were getting pushed out of the hole fairly far. It looked like as the game went on, he got better, he got more into it. That could be with the injury and a lot of other things. It just got to take some time to get back and mentally, feel comfortable with who you are.
Right. And I guess if you're coming off an injury, you're also for a while.
That's what
you're going to favor it. Yeah.
He was tentative, and I think as the game went on, that's why he was getting better as the game went on. It was more getting that injury out of his head.
Probably wasn't used to playing that physical of a double team too, so probably adjusting to that.
Yeah, exactly.
David Ling, your thoughts on Shy Tuttle?
Well, I think it's something we'll see him improve as the year goes on, and I think that goes back to the injury. I mean, any of us you've played the game, you've had a big injury before. You're whether it's back to full strength or not, there is that mental piece that you'll favor, and sometimes that leg or arm or whatever it is just isn't quite back to full strength. And as that season progresses, as he continues to play football practice, it'll get better.
Sherron Jones, interesting story. If anybody's gone by, you can't go by high school highlight tapes. They all look like world beaters. But I will say this. When Tennessee signed Sherron Jones, I like his tape in high school better than Dormady, better than Dobbs. He can't get on the field. He transferred to Colorado and then transferred right back. But last night, off the field, he got into the offensive line. They reported that during the game last night, that he went up to them and said, "You guys promised you weren't going to do this tonight. I believe in you. Turn it around." And that's right when Tennessee started scoring, and turnovers from Virginia Tech helped. Also, later in the game, he jaws at one of the Virginia Tech players, who then swipes at him and gets a flag. So he draws a flag. Thoughts on a guy who's not on the field contributing with his mouth off the field?
Quarterbacks always contribute, baby. It's what we do. We make it happen. I mean, I'm just being honest about it. Sherron Jones is an incredible athlete, and I believe he has potential to be a great quarterback. It's hard to go on the field for him right now, especially even with Jared Garantano, and we also have Dormady playing real solid. But he's part of a team. He's doing what he can for the team, and we appreciate him.
Leadership doesn't always have to be the guy on the field that the media crowns as the leader of the team. It's the person who has to say the right things and motivates the guys to do something. In this case last night, I think clearly the sideline reporter for ABC said who was the team leader. Because when no one else was talking and no one else was making anybody and getting into anybody's face, you only had one person. And heck, I don't care who it is, as long as you need somebody out there telling the truth.
Well, I think that brings up an issue. Is we in both of these games, the sideline reporters, the TV crews, and just watching, you could see the energy level when they get hit in the mouth early. It drops off.
Yeah,
and they have to work at it to get themselves back into the game. That's worrisome, because what's going to happen when it's a really good football team that gets onto you? I mean, they need to pay attention to the maxims.
Yeah, Alabama's not going to fumble 5 times for it, more than likely.
And I think it's good to always have that person there that's always biting at your heels to keep you going. I mean, you look at it yesterday, even being up 38-10, Saban rips into Lane Kiffin in order to get that where he wants to go. So you got to be able to have that communication. You got to be able to hold guys accountable. And sometimes you can't love somebody to death in order to get them to play good. Sometimes you have to come after them.
And all leaders are different. You lead in different ways. Dobbs was an encourager yesterday, a motivator it seemed, whereas Jones was more of a chewer from what we gather from what was reported. Should it be Dobbs' role to get into him a little more?
You got to be consistent with your personality. You got to be consistent with your personality. The minute you get fake, you get cut off. And once you get cut off, you can't get put back on. So you got to be consistent with your personality, and it's all about relationships. Once again, it's about relationships. Being a quarterback, X and O's, knowing everybody else's job, but you got to have an intimate relationship with everybody on that offense.
Okay.
And not always the guy's a natural born leader. I mean, he can do some things, but doesn't mean he's a natural born leader just because he plays a position on the field.
Just because you're the senior quarterback, you might not be the one that is the Al Wilson, so to speak. Not everybody's going to be an Al Wilson, but you're not. You may not be the fire and brimstone guy who lights everybody else up.
Right.
Chance Hall, becoming more important than anyone ever imagined. How much of an? Here's the fear. Okay, you get him back. Well, the offensive line is basically everybody back already. Coleman Thomas isn't as good as he was last year. Ja'Shawn Robertson, not as good as he was last year. I mean, that'll change, but 2 games into it, they have not moved forward. So while I can see everyone hoping, praying that Chance Hall comes back and he changes things, I'm a little leery if none of the other guys are taking steps forward. Why should I believe that he's taking a step forward in this offseason and he'll come in and right all the wrongs? Am I being too negative on that one?
Well, I mean, he could come back and be the greatest offensive lineman in the world, but the problem is that he can do his job.
Got 4
but if
others.
the 4 others aren't, I mean, that's the offensive line plays. If 5 guys playing as one, if one person breaks down, that's the one player they go back and hit the quarterback in the back and break his collarbone or whatever, and the season's ruined. It just takes one person to ruin things. It's not going to take just one person to fix things.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, this offensive line, you're going to be trying to figure out how to win games despite them all year. I don't care who you bring on. Right now, you don't have 5 others that are a lot better.
Right.
So the chances are you're going to do as best you can. You may see a lot more rotation and trying to figure out who's the least weak altogether. But right now, you're not saying how does this become even, let's face it, a just good enough level.
And it was a little. Go ahead, David.
Well, I was just say, I mean, I remember us sitting here last year having these conversations in the heart of the SEC schedule about the offensive line, and they got better the weaker the opponents were at the end of the season. And now we're playing, Appy State and Virginia Tech are decent football teams, but they're not SEC caliber, high-level teams, and we're talking about it. So that's my biggest concern.
Hey, let's see they're going to reverse this year, get better as the competition gets better. Let's see they're going to reverse this year.
Here's the other thing, though. You can't afford. I mean, you're seeing right now. If you get any more injuries on the offensive line, I mean, you're without Chance Hall right now, and you're struggling with one guy out. You may struggle with him back, but you can't afford. And you got a 4-game stretch coming up where it's Florida, at Georgia, at A&M, Alabama. You can't afford a sprained ankle there because you're getting down into the thin part of the depth chart at O-line.
Well, I mean, the good thing is none of those teams have very good pass rush or dominant defensive lines.
They're not
I see what you did there.
I think it'll be.
What's going on?
Go ahead, Dave.
I think it's going to be. I can't wait to see that first SEC game to find out.
Yeah.
We're bringing up a lot about the strength coach to find out if that is an issue because of going through.
Right, may not be.
Yeah, of going through the 5 that we had. I think the most important person a head coach hires is going to be a strength coach. I think you look at Alabama. They've had the same strength coach there for so many years. They've been able to be consistent with growing guys and keep going forward. So that first SEC game is going to be the telltale sign of whether that strength coach got it done or not. Because 5 guys aren't just going to get worse in 1 year because of a coach. There's got to be something else.
They might not get better because of a coach.
Yeah,
but they're not going to get worse.
And so is it the strength coach? Is it Alice Mowers no longer with the team? So is it the nutritionist being gone or? What's the issue?
Although she didn't leave until recently, but
Right.
throw everything out there. I doubt the Jamba Juice not being there has.
Yeah.
Unless she was giving him the Captain. Unless it was the Captain America serum that she was handing these guys. Now they're trained. They're turned back into little Steve Rogers. Before we get into the special teams, real quickly, I do want to say this about the offensive line. I got a couple tweets from people during the show saying, "Why are you acting like this was a loss?" Look, when Tennessee wins a big game, we've done the ha-ha, rah-rah show. We've done it here. Talking so much about the offensive line after this victory today because that offensive line could sink your season. That is the number one worry for this bunch. And there are other issues that you can overcome. I don't know that you can overcome the offensive line, and clearly a lot of these guys here feel the same way I do. So if you're wondering, well, they're acting like we lost. No, that was a good win. Congratulations. But you could lose some more if that offensive line doesn't get fixed. That's why we're talking about the offensive line so much.
I think the other thing is if Virginia Tech doesn't put the ball on the ground 5 times,
Yep.
you know, what, what's the issue?
I think the other thing is, if Virginia Tech doesn't put the ball on the ground 5 times, then you're going to lose. I mean, you have a John, I think
And I know
No, I agree.
if and ands and everything else. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
But
still
they
one you want
did.
to take.
Yeah, I mean, and if Tennessee, I mean, the reason I didn't bring that up a lot today was because if Tennessee had gone out there and turned the ball over 5 times, and Sterling had come in and said, "Yeah, but if we didn't have the turnovers," I would have said, "No,
Right.
there were turnovers." But your point is taken.
We're talking about the offensive line because they won despite that group.
Yes.
I mean, that's the only thing. There's no one that can say you won that game and the offensive line helped you win that. You won that game and figured out a way to do it with an offensive line that was absolutely horrible.
And it makes everything else on the offense
You
less
can't
than
function.
it can be.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't have Dobbs back there being able to throw down the field, allowing times for the receivers to make breaks, lose guys in coverage and make big plays. You can't open up holes to run. You can't do anything without it.
It's a travesty that Jalen Hurd has been here for 3 years, and the kid runs with 5 guys on his back. He continues to get 99, 100 yards, getting hit in the backfield. He continues to get 100 yards. If he was at Alabama, and there are people complaining about him, if he was in Alabama, behind that offensive line with those holes, people here would be saying, why can't we get a guy like that? Because he would be a Heisman contender. Instead, he's having to dance around people in the backfield and carry folks. That's a real shame.
He may be the first back to ever have, yards after contact 4.7, 5.5, but only average 2 yards a carry because he's getting hit in the backfield.
Incredible stat.
Special teams, we got 1 minute for all 4, so 15 seconds a pop. Special teams hasn't been the advantage for the first 2 games that it was last year. Warned of that this summer. They can still be good, but I wouldn't count on them to just be the machine they were last year. For one, Evan Berry didn't get to make a return last night. People have now figured out don't kick the ball to them. Special teams, any disappointment that they haven't fired it up like they did last
No
year?
disappointment. I think they're still a weapon. I think we still have a great punter. I think we got a turnover yesterday on special teams, and people are getting smarter. Don't kick Devin Berry. He's going somewhere with it.
Yeah, I just think it's not as special. I don't think it's doing bad or anything. Kickoff, they're tackling the guy at the 10 when he takes it out.
Yep.
I mean, overall, it's still a strength for this team.
Yes.
It just doesn't have the explosiveness because other teams are not letting them be that way.
I should probably have said return game rather than just all of special teams.
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to. Is you just don't put the offense in a bad situation. Give the defense an advantage. You don't have to be super special. Just take care of your aspect of the game, and they're gonna be good.
I think it's still been good, but I would like to see more on the punt return. It seems like we're not blocking guys as well or giving our returners a chance. Punt's good. You're plus 10 last night, but it's going to be hard to get a return against that Virginia Tech kicker who was kicking it out of the back of the end zone.
Medley missed one last night. Got to get better there. I think he's a B kicker at this point. I mean, I trust him most of the time.
He's going to win a big one for us, John P. Mark my words. He's going to win a big one for us.
Cool. I hope he doesn't lose one for you.
Awesome sauce.
No, again,
baby.
awesome sauce. Again, awesome sauce available at Calhoun's. All right, we will see you. Let's see here. We'll see you Thursday on Fox 43 for our Tennessee Ohio preview. It is just as fast paced as the Sports Source, 100 miles an hour, and that's Jimmy, Mike Griffith, Will Sterling, these guys. Then Friday, Mr. Overstreet and myself will be with Jimmy Hyams and John Wilkerson for the Pigskin Panel. That's 4 p.m. every Friday on WNML, and then we'll see you right back on WATE next Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Thanks, by the way, last week. You just made us the kings of ratings. We always are, thanks to you. Thanks 100% to you. But last week was just we took some people behind the woodshed and just lit into them. That's thanks to you. I mean, it's just the numbers we got, silly good. Better, you don't do at 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning a sports show that gets better ratings than some of the newscasts in this town. That's not supposed to happen. So, thank you. We'll see you next Sunday at 11.